say at the very start of this video, for some reason there are some audio cracking, popping issues that happen. I apologize. I don't know why it's happening. I'll try to figure that out on my next video or when I get back from break. But just forewarning. Otherwise, here you go. Okay, another fast video because of the fact that I am leaving to see my family at the end of this evening. So I was just going to talk about Marvel Rivals, and I'm going to try and do so um, in the most succinct way possible. From like a design perspective, but also from like an Overwatch player perspective, and just sort of like why so many people are like moving over, and why I think they're moving over at least. And I'm going to start listing off some stuff that I wrote down off the top of my head. I tried to make a list because there's a lot to go over, but this is in no way in any sort of particular order. It's literally just me spouting stuff off. So forgive me for the lack of structure here in this video. But I do get enough people asking me, like, oh, what do you think of Marvel Rivals? You know, seeing that in the comments and stuff like that. So I want to say, like, I am playing Marvel Rivals and I am loving it. Like, me and my friends have been grouping up to play. Last night we played competitive for the first time. Like, it's been a blast. And I've only been able to play the first weekend that it was out and then yesterday night, and that was it. And still, I have more fun uh, playing Marvel Rivals than I do with Overwatch, which isn't to say Overwatch 6v6. I had a lot of fun going back to 6v6, and I do kind of want to go back and do that again with my friends. But a lot of my friends are just on Marvel Rivals right now, and that's the part that sucks, which I talked about in my Overwatch 66 video, is just the timing was really, really bad because if any other moment we would have been like, "Oh, yeah, let's hop into 66, let's play some, quick play of that." But now my friends are like, "Nah, I don't really wanna play Overwatch, I wanna play Marvel Rivals," which I'm sure is a sentiment for many people, and I'm sure, like, Blizzard knows that. I'm sure that they're feeling that because of the fact that the games are very similar and how they play is very similar. Um, but yeah, let me go over and start talking about like why Marvel Rivals is doing so well. Um, and how it's a problem for Overwatch. First and foremost, what I've noticed is that the game is casual enough that you can make big plays and feel like a badass. But there's enough skill expression still in the game to separate the good and the bad players, right? The ultimates in the game are crazy powerful, but they're also easy to avoid in some ways and easy to counter. Like, Psylocke's ult seems super powerful, but then I learned the more people that are inside it, the worse that it is. Or if she just can't see you and you go invisible, she can't hit you. So there's things, little interactions like that with some of the ultimates where you realize, like, oh, I can counter this by this way and doing this. Like, so everything seems super powerful, and you can make big plays to the point that, like, even if you're down a teammate, in Overwatch, that'd be a huge deal. But in Marvel Rivals, that's not a big deal. You could hit an alt and kill, 2, 3 people. You could play Jeff and swallow an entire team up and jump off the ledge. Like, it is possible to make big plays at any point in time during the game, which is part of what makes it so fun. But that skill expression for players like me is so rewarding because of the fact that for me and my friends playing competitive, like I had a ton of fun clearly last night, my first time in competitive. I mean, like, I don't know why it started me at bronze 3. I apologize, bronze players. But the entire time I'm going, 48 and 7, 31 and 6, like even the games I lost, I'm still 27 and 8 and 25 and 9. Like, I'm still able to at least play and separate myself away from these other players, right? Um, so yeah, like they found this little sweet spot of, making you feel like a badass hero, but also providing enough skill expression that it satisfies a lot of those former Overwatch players. And that being said, a lot of these skills that you pick up in Overwatch are entirely transferable. Like, it's almost like a straight one-to-one transferable thing where you have your abilities, you have your cooldowns, when you want to get in, when you want to hold back, like if you want to retreat from a fight versus like push in. Uh, a lot of the stuff from Overwatch is just completely transferable. It's it's skills that you can easily go from playing one game and playing Marvel Rivals and not feel like you're starting something brand new, right? Which is a problem for Overwatch because of the fact that that's going to attract a lot of players who are just kind of tired of what Overwatch has to offer or just doesn't, want something new or fresh. Um, but it's super advantageous for play. It's super good for players because of the fact that it is an iteration. Like whether you want to say like, oh, there's similarities between like the heroes and whatnot. Like, well, yeah, but like there were similarities between like Overwatch and TF2, but it's still iterated on enough to sort of become its own thing. And I think that Marvel Rivals has done that as well. It kept what worked and then added some more, which is kind of how game development works. Um, that being said, it's also Marvel. Like I'll admit that I thought this game was going to be crap. I thought it was just going to be a casual experience. I thought people were overhyping it. I thought people were just so tired of Overwatch that they would have hyped up anything. And I was very, very wrong. It is an incredibly fun game. It is a blast to play with your friends, and it it being the Marvel franchise, like, but first of all, let me just say, like, being a superhero franchise doesn't immediately guarantee success. It means that if the gameplay is good already, it adds to it. Like, you'll get eyes on it initially, and then it'll get players in, and then once the players are in, you've got them hooked, and that's what it being Marvel has helped it with. But yeah, the IP franchise is definitely helping sell it for a lot of people. Let's see. The other thing is everything is OP right now. Like everything is busted. So the less we try to get like a perfect balance and the more we just sort of accept that like, sometimes when you die to bullshit, you don't get as mad because of the fact that the stuff you do is bullshit too. So you're like, well, yeah, I got one shot by Hela, but also at the same time, like I play Psylocke and I go invis and I dash and kill someone instantaneously. So, shit like that just happens. That's just Marvel Rivals. So that is part of what makes it fun. Like people sit there and like they think that dying, I don't know. Like in Overwatch, it felt like they were just saying like, oh, dying isn't fun, so we're gonna try and eliminate it as much as possible. But it's like, right, dying might not be fun for everyone, but killing people is. So when you take away people's ability to kill shit in an FPS or in a PvP setting at all, like you're gonna take away the fun of the game. And in this game, there's more kills, there's bigger ults, like there's bigger plays, like you feel like a badass. And as broken as it is, it doesn't matter. Like it's just fun to make big plays. Like Overwatch 2 was so much about like those play denying where you just didn't have those big shatters, those big grabs, those big blades anymore. It was just so much sustain, so much immortalities that eventually the game was just like it lost a lot of its magic because those big plays disappeared the more they just chipped away at like what made the game fun. Whereas in Marvel Rivals, it's back again. It feels like classic Overwatch in a way. Um, so yeah, that's why I think what it's doing well. And I think that like Marvel Rivals, it feels like it's got bigger projectiles. It feels like things are easier to hit. And it feels like uh it feels like Marvel Rivals is what Overwatch 2 was trying to be and couldn't and didn't succeed at. Whereas like Marvel Rivals found a sweet spot and managed to hit it. Because yeah, I will say it does feel like, there's some issues in terms of like it doesn't feel as smooth as Overwatch does. Overwatch is fantastic in terms of like, with all the fast paced stuff going on in Overwatch, it feels like things are pretty one to one. It feels like it's not choppy. Whereas like at times in playing Marvel Rivals, it definitely feels choppy. But uh, but because the core concept is really good, like the foundation is really strong, you can sort of let go of like some technical issues. Um, but yeah, otherwise, just like in terms of just like this is what I mean by like when a game has like a solid system design, a solid foundation, it's so much easier to get players hooked in versus just having things that just like your game could run really well, it could look really pretty, but if the system design and design isn't there as like a strong foundation, it doesn't hold players as well. Um, and Overwatch still has that, but it's slowly losing it a lot. And I think that I think at Marvel Rivals is just showing them that, there's ways to sort of hook players and just like the having just a solid idea. Um, the other thing I'll say that that Marvel Rivals has done is there's just a lot of like little quality of life changes. It's hard to say off the top of my head, but there's so many times where I'm like, "Oh, like, I didn't know that was in there." Like, if you go into the replay system while you're watching the game, mid-game, if you hit tab, you can see the scoreboard. You can see, what it's at, like, at that time. Like, that's something that is just it wasn't in Overwatch's replay system. The battle pass, um it doesn't expire, like, once you buy it, you could finish it later if you wanted, or, uh, there's just, like I can't even remember off the top of my head just trying to think of it now, but, like, there's just little features where you're like, "Oh," like, it's really nice that that's added. It's not something that just makes or breaks the game, but it does feel like they were paying attention to what players were asking for in Overwatch, and they're like, "Oh, well, we'll add that to our own game." Like, there's so many similarities in terms of, like, the team chat's already blue, the all chat's already orange, like, you can tell they're just like, well, this stuff works, so let's not change it. But then they took other parts that were just small quality of life improvements and they were like, yeah, we're going to add this into the game. This will feel better. And that just makes players feel appreciated. It makes them feel heard, makes them feel like, you're actually paying attention to what they're asking for. Um, that being said, it also feels like I could be wrong about this, but the shop might have more bang for the buck. Um, Just in terms of, like, maybe how much you get or the quality of stuff that you get or even just the fact that the battle pass doesn't expire, like I said, like, it feels a little less scummy. It doesn't feel like the game is just about the shop, which is, like, what Overwatch 2 was. Like, this is an entirely new game from scratch, and Overwatch 2 just felt like, you know, a battle pass and skin selling, system. Like, it didn't you're not sure, like, what you're going for. You're not sure, like, what the sequel was for in general, because 'cause you're just lacking a lot of the things that you really wanted, the stuff that hyped you up. But, I can't be totally sure. I will say that, like, I typically don't spend money on AAA games anymore. I tend not to because of the fact that from my history, I know AAA games tend to treat their employees, not the greatest, or there's not enough like, the money you're spending towards a AAA studio isn't going towards the developers typically making it. Um, it's going to the people who run or invest and publish this stuff. So yeah, but whereas like indie games, that goes directly to somebody. So that's why I feel more obligated to do that. But occasionally, when a game does something where I'm like, oh, I feel like you're actually like, caring about us. I feel like I want to invest in your vision and say that like I support this. I'll give them money. And for Marvel Rivals, I legitimately gave them $20 so I could pay for that Psylocke skin because I play a lot of Psylocke. Uh, all of these games are Psylocke, in fact. Um, and it they they haven't like this is a new game, so it's also like Blizzard, has broken a lot of trust with a lot of players, including myself. This is a new game, fresh start, and they haven't broken that trust yet. And just like in early Overwatch, when I gave them money early on, I did so because I was like, "Oh, I believe in what you're doing, and I want to let you know that I want you to keep going with it." So here's my way of, even though I know it's accessible or it's free already, here's my way of saying, please keep doing more of what this is. And once they start to deviate from that vision, like with Overwatch 2, I just stopped giving them any money because I'm like, I don't feel the need to give you anything anymore. Like, not until it comes back to like something I feel like it's worth investing in. But Marvel Rivals, it feels like it's worth investing in this moment. It might still be early, it might be ruined later on, who knows? But for right now, um, I don't know. It feels like my money is going towards something where I get more value out of it. And uh and I don't know, like, it's just the company is just feels like they're appreciating players a bit more. Um, let's see, what else? The accessibility. Um, it being free to play is a huge thing. The fact that they're like, "Oh, anyone can play." Uh, and that's huge part of PvP and getting people into the game and making sure you have a large player base. And then from there, they're just like, "Oh, here's this battle pass, and if you get it, it never expires." And I think maybe if you buy the battle pass, it affords the next one. I can't remember exactly, but then there's all these other extra skins, like, they know what they're doing. They know that, like, in order for a PvP game to succeed, it needs a player base, and that player base, once they're in and they're hooked on the good gameplay, then they'll spend money on skins, and I think that that's a fine business model, especially for games that require this sort of massive PvP, community. Because that's how my friend got me into it. I wasn't gonna play this game. I didn't think much of it, and then once he got me into it, I was like, "Alright, you were right, I was wrong. This game is fun." Um, that being said, more on the gameplay, it's easy to understand through play. I don't I play primarily Psylocke, and just through playing quick matches over a weekend, I was able to figure out how to play against a lot of stuff or what stuff was doing without needing to look into too much research or too much of, like, practice range to figure stuff out. Um, and my friends would also, like, sort of explain stuff to me as they figure things out and as we learn things, uh and yeah, but for the most part, I could just play Psylocke, and I was learning, like, okay, like, when he hits me with this ability, then I get hit with this. When they do this, I need to back up. Like, it's pretty easily understandable just through play alone, and that's a huge selling point to making PvP fun. So I think that they did a pretty good job at that. There's still some stuff you have to go into practice range or, maybe see a tutorial or something online to figure out, um but that's the other thing is, like, this game is new, there's no meta, everybody's learning, and that learning aspect is fun. People enjoy learning. Like, I know it doesn't sound like it because school is boring and, not fun for a lot of people, but people actually do enjoy learning about stuff they're interested in. And when the gameplay is engaging enough and it's fun enough, that aspect of learning is what makes games so great, is you want to learn to get better. You want to learn those small interactions. You want to figure out what works best and how to play into what counter, etc. Like, um, that's just part of what makes games fun and amazing for a lot of people is it makes learning fun. And this game, because it's so new, I've seen tier lists of people being like, "Oh, this character's broken," and another tier list, people are be like, "This character's garbage." Like, it's all over the place right now as people are still trying to figure this out, and that's to its benefit. And what Overwatch has going against it is that Overwatch has been around so long, everybody knows what's good. Everybody knows how to play. Like, everybody knows, like, what to do. That mystery, that novelty, that, exciting learning part is basically gone. Um, so yeah, that's, how long it'll last for Marvel Rivals, we'll have to wait and see, but that is one of those things going for it right now. The other thing I'll say is, like, with alts being as big as they are, like, dying is not as punishing in this game. In Overwatch, if you die, um like, a lot of times, like, the fight's over. Like, 5v5, tank dies, fight's over. Like, there's nothing you can do. And if you lose 2 people, like, fight's over. Like, you can't really, like, turn that around. Whereas in this game, if you get if you die, there's still a chance that your teammates could come up with some huge ult and kill 3 or 4 people and turn the fight around at the last minute. Uh, those big plays and ability to kill more people also means that when you die, it's not as punishing to you. Like, you could make a mistake and it's not as bad. Um, because yeah, like, if you make I've said this so many times, if you make dying not fun, like, it's going to be very difficult to sort of keep players around. And in this game, you can die, come back out, and still make a big play and come back. Um, or if your teammates mess up, there's still a chance that you might be able to make a play playing around your ultimate, or even get some solo kills yourself. Uh, so yeah, I think that that really has helped it a lot in terms of just like I didn't think about it, but yeah, the ability to make big plays also meant that when big plays happen against your team or when individual deaths happen, it's not as big of a deal as it is in Overwatch. Overwatch, you get absolutely punished for a single mistake, sometimes in 5v5. Um, let's see. Uh, there's so many different play styles. There's so many different heroes. There's so many different, ways to play the game. Like, me and my friends all play different heroes. We play different play styles. I don't play Rocket Raccoon, but my buddy does. I don't play Cloak and Dagger, but my friend does. Star Lord, who is a lot like Tracer, I was told, is actually not the character I play. I don't want to. Like, I'm a Psylocke player for sure. And that's the greatest part about this game is that there's so many different play styles. At the moment that, like, I found Psylocke and I played her, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the one. I don't need to play any of the others. I don't need to understand anything else. I know already this is my character. Like, I need to. I don't need to know anything else. Like I am I am set with my one hero and I never need to change ever again. Um, the other thing I was thinking about that I forgot to add when it comes to playstyles is that I played Psylocke the entire evening and I never felt like there was somebody hard countering me. Luna Snow would be the closest to being able to just like negate what I do with my ult with her ult, but otherwise, like there was nothing that would make me want to stop playing my hero. And I think in a hero based shooter, that's really important is that it always feels like what you're doing as that hero matters and that you have ways to play around it. I think that's one of the pros going for Marvel Rivals that Overwatch with all of its counter swapping and Overwatch 2 that's been going on. I think that it's just another thing to add to Marvel Rivals that if you wanted to one trick, it's not really a bad thing. You could play your one trick really well and still manage to do well in all of your games. So yeah, that's another pro that Marvel Rivals has going for it. So yeah, like there's a play style for everybody, and it does make tanks a lot of fun, a lot more forgiving as well. I'm sure that there's issues that people are going to discover, but for right now, like if there's a hero out there for everyone in this game, it's just a matter of like playing through all of them until you figure out the one that works for you. And because of that, there's no meta, so you can play whatever, and people aren't going to get mad. People get mad if you just don't do well, but not so mad if just like the heroes that you pick. Um, and that being said, I think the last thing I can say is that there's no roll lock, so it's less sweaty. It's not super serious at the moment because of the fact that it's new and it's fresh. Um, people I just sort of expect that people aren't going to play super well. The games that I've lost is just like I'm like, the games are still trying to figure out like the matchmaking or whatever. Oh wait, that was quick match. Um, Even the competitive ones where I lost, I'm like, yeah, these people are still figuring out like what they're doing, and it's unfair for me to like you know be too upset at them. But because I was placed in bronze 3 as well for some reason, where I guess it just starts you there. Um, and over the course of like one evening, because I heard that like you get, I guess like you get a skin or something for getting to at least gold, which um, I was like, oh well, if that's the case, like let's bust it out before I go on vacation, so that way I know it's done. I don't have to worry about it. Like free skin just for playing to gold, which was like no problem. Um, But yeah, like overall, it's less serious because of the fact that it's still new. Uh, how long it'll stay that way, I don't know. Uh, that is something I think that we have to be fully aware of and understand is that a lot of the reasons why this game is also doing well is because of the fact that it is new and fresh. It is um, there's not like established metas where it's just like you have to play this, you have to play this hero because this one's OP or whatever. Like maybe that'll come and maybe it'll change how things are. Like, but for right now, I think that people are just enjoying the fact that this is a silly game. It has a lot of silly, wacky abilities, a lot of shit that's just super broken, super OP, super easy to do. But that's also what makes it fun. And I will say I was wrong in predicting that this game was just going to be like a more casual version of Overwatch. Uh, and it's not. It is legitimately its own game. It is iterated on it well, and they somehow managed to find a way to make it extremely skill based, but also so casual that even the most casual of players could have like a big, huge like 5 man uh ultimate kill or something, and that makes you feel really awesome. And as like I said, as much as it sucks to maybe die to like a 5 man ult, you could do a 5 man ult yourself and feel like a badass. And those moments, like right there, those big moments are what you play for in a PvP game like this. That's what used to happen in Overwatch all the time. Like that was the stuff that made it exciting. And it got ruined by immortalities and sustain and denial abilities when really in all actuality what people wanted was more playmaking, you know? That's the reason why, like, I think I've seen somewhere in the comments of like my old other videos, people saying like, "Oh, you Kiriko has to exist because Ana is such a problem." It's just like in high elo, no one complains about Ana. Like we like playing against Ana. we don't have a problem getting antied because it's not a huge deal for us. Uh, like, it might be for, like, a solo tank, but it's really not that bad. Like, we like Ana because of the fact that she's more about making plays and it makes it more fun, and Suzu is the one that we get annoyed by because of the fact that it's just irritating to play around. Um, but yeah, like, I would much rather see a game that's all around making really big plays, getting kills all the time, even if it means I die more, than a game where I'm alive, but it feels like I can't do anything. And I think that's where Marvel Rivals is doing really well. I think that's why it's succeeding as well as it is. And I do think that Overwatch can get back to that. I do think it can make that, but it's like it's going to take some serious uh, it's gonna take some serious work to a serious mix-up, um, in order to bring it back there, changing the projectile sizes back to what they were, removing the DPS passive, reworking some of those support abilities, like, you've heard my spiel before, but yeah, I do still have faith that Overwatch can do it. I think this is good, healthy competition, and I will say that, like, if I have a choice between playing 5v5 Overwatch or, playing Marvel Rivals, I chose Marvel Rivals. If I had to choose between playing, Marvel Rivals with my friends or Overwatch with my friends, I'll choose Marvel Rivals. And if I had a choice between playing solo queue and rank Marvel Rivals or Overwatch, I'm playing Marvel Rivals, 100%, still hands down. Uh, like this game would actually get me back into like solo queuing a competitive game again because of the fact that like fucking look at all these MVPs. Like this shit has been fun. Like it's been a blast to go, 49 and 6 in a game with a fucking hexa kill. Like, I don't get that kind of big stuff uh, in Overwatch anymore, and it's fun that I get to be able to do it again, so, yeah, we'll see what happens in the future if Overwatch, does go with 6v6 and they make changes, but, otherwise, like, I'd be sweating a little bit if I were them because as someone who played a lot of Tracer. Um, Jumping over into Psylocke into Marvel Rivals has been a pretty easily transferable skills, and I'm sure a lot of other people are feeling very similar. And that I understand people saying that both games can exist and both games can do well, which is true to a certain degree, but also like the Venn diagram of player bases is directly overlapping. There's only so much attention people have, and if you pull from one area, you're going to put it into another. Um, So yeah, and some of the money that would have gone to Overwatch in the past might now go to Marvel Rivals, and that's just how it works. But yeah, this is direct competition for sure because of how easily transferable the skills are and how fun the game is and how many different heroes and stuff there are. But yeah, that's my video on Marvel Rivals. I kind of rambled on a little bit, but it is a fantastic game. It is really fun. If you hadn't had a chance to try it and you play Overwatch, I'd say give it a try, see what you think, get your friends together for a weekend or something. It's not overhyped like I thought it was. It is definitely a fun game, especially to play with your friends, and that's always a big selling point for me. Anyway, yeah, give it a try, and if you prefer Overwatch still to Marvel Rivals, tell me why. I'm kind of curious because uh, I know I've seen some people out there say that, but yeah, I don't know. Overwatch 5v5 just doesn't quite hit the same as 6v6 did, and I don't know. Marvel Rivals is scratching an itch I've been having for a really long time. So I think I might do a bunch more solo queue with this because I can't explain to you how fun it is to go 49 and 6 in a game, but the high you get from doing something like that, like I don't know. I'm gonna keep chasing that high now.